Peace. Peace. We can say it louder than that. First of all, I want to welcome everyone here today on the 22nd. We know this is Allah's Physical Degree Day, and it's very monumental and historic. We're going to have another slide that's going to show momentarily, but I want everybody to know why we're here. We're here in regards to honoring Allah. Now, also, we're going to have a slide that's going to show in regards to as far as the city on the eve of destruction, as far as dealing with the riot that happened after Martin Luther King was assassinated. And when we actually show that particular slide, we're going to have another slide that's going to show Gabe Pressman interviewing Allah, because a lot of individuals within this nation never had a chance to actually see Allah, but we're here now to make sure that we have individuals who don't understand what Allah taught. And having said that, once we finish doing that, we're going to have God Cham. God's going to speak, and he's going to share his experiences as far as when Allah taught him. And we're also going to have a BG, number 7, Allah's. He's going to also speak and share his experience as far as what Allah taught him as well. In the process of that, we're going to open it up for a question and answering period, and we're going to have it for approximately about 30 minutes. And from that particular point in time then, we're going to have it situated to the point whereas you're going to hear music start playing as far as in the background, but we're going to have a time where we're going to have individuals come to the front, because then I want to take a group picture so everybody can actually know at this particular day that we have, and I want to make sure we capture that. But let me say this, the main reason why I even wanted to have this venue at the Schomburg, okay? Once I found out that in regards to 92 libraries that they have, that this is the #1 library in the nation, but there's only 4 of them that's scholarly. So that means that any institution, whether it's a college or university, anytime they want to know about black culture is concerned, they come here to the Schomburg. And for me, I made it my business to say that anytime that they're going to have anything that was going to show an individual reflecting in humanity, we have to have our presence felt in regards as far as dealing with individuals knowing about Allah. However, Allah did his job, we got to do our job. Everybody got to come in their own name. And by me speaking with a lot of individuals and going through the math and the lessons and so forth, I speak with a lot of the youth. And a lot of the youth, when I'm out there teaching them, they told me when they go on social media, it seems like we are separated. So that's why I wanted to make sure we have this venue so we can all be of one mindset in regards to having an understanding of what we are and what we represent in regards to going out there teaching and serving the community. In regards to dealing with the equality, we got to address the inequality that exists. This way individuals know that our word is our bond and that we have some type of integrity. But all of us is swimming our own 9,000 miles back to humanity. Allah is the only one that we want to make sure we let individuals know that he reached the pinnacle of that particular aspect of his life because he gave his life. So when we say word is bond and bond is life, we give our life for our word shall fail, we have to make sure that individuals really show and prove. No matter what we say, you're going to have to show and prove. So I wanted to make sure that individuals understand when we play that music that said what's going on, I want to let y'all know what's going on. This is a New York paper for the city on the eve of destruction. It shows Mayor Lindsay on the right-hand side and so Allah on the left-hand side, and it has the Empire State Building in the middle. That Empire State Building is monumental because when this came out on the 22nd also. When I looked at it, I first kept saying, wait a minute, you know, on going through the day's degree, I kept saying, I ain't got to be worried about Yaku. I don't care about him being 6 years old, playing with 2 pieces of steel, knowing one had magnetic, the other piece did not. I didn't care nothing about he's going to have a nation that's going to be unlike and going to teach technology for 6,000 years. I wasn't worried about that. I wanted to worry about that we just come together and talk about the magnetism that Allah manifested. That's why we're here today. So my main thing is the fact is this. Also, by me speaking to everyone here and everyone that's watching on YouTube, 7 on demand, always understand that your audience has an audience. So it ain't going to be a whole bunch of individuals just dropping a whole bunch of whatever question that's going to be asked is going to be answered. However, at the same duration of time, it's like I told everybody else is concerned, make sure that when you speak to an individual, we want to teach the masses. We want to teach individuals who ain't got knowledge of self. Okay, we want to give them an understanding on who we are and what we represent and who they are and what they represent. And to keep it simple, to make sure they have a purpose in life. So can I get the next slide? So by me having said that, I just want y'all to bear with me in regards to this next interview with Gabe Pressman, in regards to interviewing Allah, and then we'll pick up from there. That's all right? Yeah. All right. Peace.
Traits, what characteristics does he have that appeal?
He did not give the order to kill my people like it's happening in all other cities.
and it was a federal law for anyone that ride or loot, and he didn't give the order.
You mean by not giving the order to shoot?
That make him he let the people know that their life was worth more than property, all material things.
And you think that this has been the big difference in New York?
Yes.
Well, he walks around, he shakes hands with people, he speaks to them, yet he doesn't have the money to do the things that he wants to do. So don't the people feel let down because of that?
No, he let the people know that he does not have the money and where the money must come from. That's the only thing he can do.
So then you have the feeling that he levels with people.
I speak for the 5 percenters, he do. And so far, he have leveled with the other people. I know that too because I'm not the only one that love him up here.
That piece, first of all, that clip, when I first saw that and I saw how he was addressing about in regards to, we not looting or as far as not rioting is concerned, it shows the integrity of Allah as far as being civilized. When we say the meaning of civilization, we say one to have knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, and refinement is not a savage pursuit of happiness. So therefore, for us to make sure that we knowledge individuals from the perspective of saying that they knowledge in God, all we could actually have is a good orderly direction, not just for ourselves, but serving other people. When I first got knowledge of self, it wasn't just about Father Supreme. It was about me going out there to help the people and serve the people out there. So by me saying that, I want to introduce God Shamgar because he can actually share his experience in regards to as far as the law, touching base in regards to teaching him. But before God Shamgar come up here, I want to read something. And this was actually from a memorandum dealing with the Youth Parole Board. And this was actually on May 22nd, 1968. And in this memorandum, it was basically a law sitting down with certain staff members. And on the 3rd paragraph, it says, Allah seemed to be a very bitter and angry man who became impatient with the questions that members of the staff directed to him. He later expressed his amazement to Ms. Kaminsky and myself and the narrow-mindedness and inability of a so-called professional social workers to accept or even try to understand the reality of a philosophy that is foreign to a middle-class idealist. Now, let me say this because I mentioned Judy Kaminsky, but I didn't mention the rest of the names. It was Judy Kaminsky as well as Mr. Swartz and T. Evans. I don't know if the T represented a male or a female, but everybody's going to have a copy of this, a son of man, once they leave here so they can do the research. But the next paragraph got to me when it says, during the initial part of the meeting, Allah spoke about the attacks on the 5 percenters by members of other black, more militant groups, such as the Black Nationalists and Muslims. These other more aggressive groups have called the 5 percenters Toms because the 5 percenters do not preach or practice their hatred of whitey, burning of their buildings, looting, etc. Allah went on to say that the true 5 percenter does not steal, rob, or use drugs. And in parentheses, it has down marijuana, heroin, cocaine, etc. He also said the true 5 percenter is the black man. The true 5 percenter is a poor, righteous teacher. Allah then offers the services in cooperation with an agency to for those parolees who are declaring their alliance to the 5 percenters and yet are violating the basic teachings of the group. And having said that, I just wanted to make sure I did to flow with the continuity and introducing my brother, God Shamgar.
Peace. Can you all hear me? Is the mic on? Right, thank you. Before I get started, we are going to have the COVID protocol in terms of our masses and everything. When I get finished speaking, mine is going back on. I just wanted to make sure that y'all can hear what I'm saying and everything. So let's respect each other and keep each other safe. We know what this pandemic and what this disease has done to not just us, to the world. So let's continue to practice that while we're here. My name is God Shamgar. I was 12 years old when I became a 5 percenter. I lived on 118th Street between 5th and Madison, and I was a runaway. I didn't get out there stealing and stuff like that. I just like to run away from home because I was an explorer. And a young man by the name of Born-in-Law Christ, that we call him, his family was in the mosque on 116th Street. And one day, he picked me up. We was in Mount Morris Park playing around, and he asked me to take a walk to him because he was going over to St. Nick. And as we walked over on 7th Avenue, a gentleman said peace to him. And the brother replied, Assalamu alaikum, because he was in the mosque. And it just happened to be Allah. You know, he asked me my name, I told him my name, and he asked the brother, you know, what was we doing in the area, because he knew the brother family. One of the main things that he did is that he taught us to teach one another, and I just was introduced to him. And I'll say 2 days, 3 days later, I met a couple of brothers that was on the east side of Manhattan, and I started studying the lessons. One of the first things that we had to do, we said, was clean ourselves up. We had to learn the dietary laws. We could not eat pork, we could not eat pork products, and et cetera. And being a young man and not really knowing, I can't say that I was faithful in everything, but I knew that I enjoyed being around the brotherhood. And in 1965, in May, being a runaway, my parents, they just got tired. I wound up going to a training school called Highland State Training School for boys. Then I came home in 1967, and I came uptown on 7th Avenue, and I really was surprised because I seen all these teenagers out there, but they was out there with Allah. They were the 5%ers. And my experience, because the day isn't about me, but I just want to give you a little history of how I got started. But it's about Allah and what He taught as a man, because there's a lot of misunderstanding in what He taught and who He taught. The first thing that I would like to tell you all that this was a black man that the teenagers in the 60s loved. From 116th Street to 135th Street in the 60s, you could be anything you want. We had the black Muslims on 116th Street. We had the Young Lords on 117th Street. We had the Panthers on 118th to 119th Street. This is all 7th Avenue now we talking about. You had the Nationalists, you had the 5%, and then up on 135th, you had CORE, ran by Roy Ennis. If anybody do their history and study their history, they will see that the 60s was an enlightening period. And though many of y'all young, y'all got the internet, y'all got things that y'all can do to research with what was going on in the 60s. And again, that was an enlightening period. And I just felt comfortable with all those organizations that I talked to y'all about. I just felt comfortable in that home with the 5% because of the population they had. It was young children that I could identify with. Mind you, I told you I was 12 and a half. And this man, that's what he had. He had wayward teenagers that was doing all kind of things, but yet and still, he was trying to civilize us by giving us the knowledge of ourselves and give us discipline, because we didn't have discipline back during that day and time. We was running wild, doing some of everything. So again, I fell in love with it because I felt the brotherhood, I felt the love. I lived in a household with two parents, but I just liked the streets, to venture, to try to find my way. I really can't say, but that was me. Out in the street, every chance I got, I ran away from home. Favorite place that I went to stay in or play in was Mount Morris Park. And before I was a 5%, our main goal was to go to the mountaintop to where the bell was. And years later, you know, lo and behold, that's where we used to have our universal rallies. What fascinated me about Allah was the patience that he had. And when you was in his presence, he was always telling you things that you needed to do for yourself. As young people, he was freeing our minds that we can have our own thought. Be assertive in your thought with what you wanted to do and what you didn't want to do. He told us to go to school. He said, if you don't want to go to school, get a trade so that one day when you have a family, you'll be able to take care of your family. You know, he talked individually to you, or he spoke in groups. After 1967, I wound up going to another institution because, again, I was still underage, and my parents and them, they felt that if I was in an institution, they will at least know that I'm getting 3 meals a day and that I wasn't on the street and nothing couldn't happen to me. So from 1968, I was in Otisville Training School. Father Supreme spoke early about the meeting that he had with the Department of Youth in the state of New York. Allah went up to speak to the administrative staff because they could not control the 5%. We was in them institutions. Most of the population in terms of staff was white. And I didn't learn racism from my parents. I didn't learn racism from another black individual. I learned racism by being in them institutions that the white folks let me know that I was different than they were. So after so much trouble in dealing with the young 5% that was in the training school, Dr. Clark was a psychologist that was in Warwick State Training School for boys. So what he did is invited Allah up to speak to the administration to educate them on who the 5% was and pretty much what was his program, and he told them he didn't have no program. And he set the record straight of our dietary laws. He set the record straight that they could not force us to do anything, else we would rebel. As you know, young men and everything, he said, if it's a force, you're not going to like it and you're not going to get anything out of it. So after that, one thing that the institution did is they got a little bit less stricter with us. They allowed us once a week on a Wednesday that all the 5%ers that was in the institution, they could go up to this little place that they called Darlington. It was a meeting place that the 5%ers could go and study their lessons and everything. And it was great for us because Allah came up there. But the psychological aspect was that any time that we got in trouble in the institution, we would have to go down to Dr. Clark's office, and he would play the tape of Allah or how we were supposed to be as young men in the institution, you know, because we had behavior problems. So this was supposed to mellow us out and keep us, you know, on the straight and narrow because we said that we were 5%ers. I was with a lot of young brothers, and the main thing that I learned very young in being a 5%, that there was a brotherhood. If you seen one, you seen the other. If I had money and my brother didn't have anything to eat, whatever I had, I shared with him. We call it equality. It might not be much of nothing, but we had the taste of something in our belly of some type of food, you know. But it just taught me what it meant to be with young brothers, and that we felt like we was family because we were. We ate together, we slept together, we studied together. Some brothers had the advantage of, knowing karate and doing karate and stuff. Again, as a young 5%er, no matter what it is, kids are going to be kids. So the studying and everything, we didn't take as serious as the brothers that was before us, because we wanted to have fun, we wanted to be ourselves, and sometimes we just didn't understand. But more so, like I said, anytime, my mother and them moved out of Harlem when I came out to training school to Brooklyn. And Brooklyn taught me to be a man and to take advantage of a lot of things. When I lived in an area called East New York, Brooklyn, we had brothers that was out there besides the Street Academy in New York. We had one in our neighborhood that the brothers established before they moved out. And once they moved out, us young brothers were stuck with the school to do the best that we could, and we kept it until we lost it. But every time that we came uptown to Manhattan, we made sure that we met with Allah. Besides being with the other brothers, we made sure that we met with Allah, and he would tell us what to do in our community. He said, son, don't destroy your community. Don't be out there robbing. Don't be out there stealing. Don't be out there doing drugs. He said the best way to master drugs was to leave it alone. So it instilled in us that because we lived in a community, the only way that it could be great was its members had to be great. And we did a lot of teaching out there to some other young 5%ers, and we tried to be an example within the community. He made sure that we went to school. We could not come up here during school hours to be at 2122 7th Avenue, which is our headquarters, because at that age, and again, and I have to stress this, he had young teenage kids. And those that's in the audience, whether you're 5% or not, y'all see what goes on with these young kids out here today. So this was one man that wanted to turn young children into somebody. So he took the time out with us. He established with the community Apollo Theater. Some of my best shows that I seen with entertainers was on Saturday. You came up here for the matinee. You go around to the Apollo, we got in free to see the shows. When he wanted to get us out the community to experience certain things with us, we went up to Bear Mountain. We ain't never been on a plane. We went on a plane ride. But this was to show us what we could do, and also to give us something to do as young men, rather running around being destructive. And it worked for me, because one, I loved Allah for the time that he took out with me to try to groom me into a better human being. I loved him because we had such an equality with him, and he was always available for us and giving us his undivided attention. And he didn't talk long, but whatever he had to say, he said it and he meant it. And he never spoke over our head. He broke it down to the lowest term and the lowest form so that we could understand what he was saying to us. Well, in 1968, me and a couple of other brothers came home from Otisville training school. That was the last time that I saw Allah. He spoke at the rally, then he said he was going around the corner to the school. We was getting ready to go back upstate in about 2 to 3 days. So we went around to see what he had to tell us. He gave us each a book of life from out the back of the street academy. And he told us, teach the brothers from this so that y'all all will have the same lessons. But he said something to us that we truly didn't understand until June 13th, 1969. He told this brother Allah Freedom, Hami, may he rest in peace, and he told myself because he knew that we were 5%ers in the street. And a lot of them brothers in the institution, he didn't know anything, so he kind of like put us in charge. He told, his exact words was, I might not be here when y'all get out. And we paid it no mind. The last thing we thought about was death. It just went totally on over our head. And on June 13th, when we went in the mess hall to eat breakfast, one of the brothers told us that Allah had got shot. He had got killed. And at first, we didn't take it too well and we didn't believe it. But a gentleman by the name of Ben Graziano, who had a relationship with Allah, when he came up to speak with the administration, you know, he summoned us up to his office and told us it was true, that the night before Allah had got shot in Harlem. They wouldn't let us come home for the funeral or anything because we wasn't biologically his children and they just couldn't let us out. But they allowed us, out of respect, to have a parliament so that the brothers wouldn't get out of line or get out of order. And they allowed us to have communications with New York City during that particular time. And I say all of this to say that people have a misconception or people make up stuff about people. But again, this year on the 24th, I have 57 years in this nation. And I don't regret a day. I've had my trials and tribulations because life deal you that type of hand sometimes. But I don't regret this nation of anything because of how I turned out. He told all of us, not just me, he told all of us one word, teach. That was what he told us that would save us all. Teach. Teach the young people because old people are set in their ways. And if you teach the young people will do great things because the same way I have an idea, my time may pass along, that it's your turn and your ideas must exist in this world. So he told us to teach. That's all y'all got to do is teach. And sometimes the most simplest thing is the hardest thing, you know, for a person to do. And it hurt me to my heart because he left here June 13th. I wound up coming home from out the institution in July. And there was a void missing. Anytime that I think about him, anytime that my mind starts drifting or anything else, I think about Allah and what he told us to do, what he meant to me as a human being and as a person, and what he meant to the brothers and sisters that's in this nation that truly know him and living out his will and living out his mathematics. You know, we got Black Lives Matter, we got all kind of organizations and everything that's out here. But we must continue to save and teach these young children. If we ever gonna survive or be victorious, our young people got to lead the way. And I say peace.
Peace. Having said that, my brother, and I want the audience to know, bring it back up to the still picture with Law and Mayor Lindsay. And that picture is very significant, other than being just before the interview with Gay Pressman. At this particular time, BG, I would like to speak on this particular picture with Allah holding his hands like this because it has major significance. So having said that, right now, I'd like to introduce ABG number 7, Allah's firstborn, seventh born. Peace.
Peace. Good evening. My name is ABG number 7 Allah's, at least I'm called that. When Allah told us to change our names to come out the Muslim names, well, maybe I should start from the beginning. I first met Allah, saw him myself, when he was shot in Harlem Hospital. That was in 1964. In the hospital, I went with my brother Jabba, who was better known as Prince. Me and Jabba was told, Jabba was told to take me up to the hospital. I didn't know where we was going. I thought we was going to boost food because we had no food and we had to eat. So I thought the two of us was going to make the run to steal the food. And we walked past the A&P and kept straight up to Harlem Hospital. And when we went to Harlem Hospital, I know we went above the 5th floor. What floor exactly, I don't remember. But we walked into a room, and there was a man bandaged up all his chest, and Jabba said, "Assalamu alaikum." And the man said, "Wa alaikum salam." So following my brother, I said, "Assalamu alaikum." And the man said, "Wa alaikum salam." And Jabba looked at it and said, told Allah, "This is Bilal." So he said, "Spell it." And I spelled it, B-I-L-A-L. And the man looked at me and said, "I'm Allah." And I didn't know what to do, because Allah is God. My brothers had a way of taking you places and putting you in situations to see how you react. I didn't know whether I was supposed to jump on the bed and kill this man or what. And I'm sitting there confused because Job is up there at the head of the bed with the man. But my brother's eyes told me that if I made that move, he would be defending the man. I really was confused. Finally, the two of them started talking and paid me no mind. I was at the foot of the bed. And finally, Jabba said, and snapped me out of it by saying, "Bilal got a better handwriting than I do." And they talked some more. And he said, "Well, give him the paper and the pencil." And so they gave me a paper and pencil. And Allah said, "Write down what I tell you, verbatim, word for word." And he said to me, "And can you reform him, devil?" And he answered the question himself as I wrote it down. He said, "No, all the prophets have tried to reform him, devil, but was unable. So they agreed that it could not be done unless they graft him back to the original, which would take 600 years. So instead of wasting time grafting him back, they decided to take him off the planet, who only number 1 to every 11 original people." That was the first lesson that I received from Allah. I was 17 years of age. That was the lesson, and me and Prince looked at each other and smiled. And Allah said, "Make sure them other brothers get this lesson when y'all go back downtown." He told me about how he got shot. He told me the people came into the basement and they showed him a picture of the Last Supper. This picture we're all familiar with. It's a picture of Jesus sitting with his disciples at the Last Supper. That's what they showed Allah. And they asked him, "Do you know who this is?" And he said, his reply, "Come on with it, lollipop." And the guy with the shotgun opened up on him. And the shotgun threw him up against the boiler. Another man opened up with a .30-06 rifle, and the bullet spun him around. Rasul and Kareem was with him. Kareem jumped up on the table with an iron pipe. Rasul knocked Kareem off the table and knocked out the light in the basement. The men went running upstairs, shooting the guns. 2 other men were shot that night, Pop and Billy. But when the lights came back on, they didn't see Allah. So everybody was looking for him. But he was outside the basement, and it seemed as if he was running behind the men who had shot him. That's what he told us. This is what happened. The bullet lodged in his back for a while before he had it removed, because the doctors didn't want to remove it. That was the first lesson I got from him. But before that, Kareem had met him. That's the firstborn, known as Black Messiah. The secondborn was Absalom. The third was Al-Jabba. The fourth was Uhura. The fifth was Nahim. The sixth was Akbar, who brought me in, and I was the seventh. That's how many of us it was when he was teaching us. And the teachings began down at his house when he came out the hospital. And during that time, he said to us, I'm going to stop saying Assalamu alaikum, because we cannot carry on a conversation in Arabic. None of us could. He said, I'm going to start saying peace. Abu Shaib was there. We called him our big brother. Forsyth Akbar was there, and we called him Forsyth because he was 40 years old at the time. Rasul was there. They were the four men who was basically together. We were just coming on as young men. He said, I'm going to stop saying Assalamu alaikum, I'm going to start saying peace. And he told us all. He said, we walk this earth in humility, and when we approach the ignorant, we say peace. So we had it. He said it more than once that night. On our way back up to 129th Street, we walking, and Jabba and Akbar got into words with each other because Jabba kept teasing like he always did, all of us. He was calling Akbar Akumba, and we was laughing. And Akbar got tired and stopped abruptly and looked at Prince, and he said, peace. And we all bust out laughing because we remembered Allah said we walk this earth in humility, and when you approach the ignorant, we say peace. So Akbar, in a sense, was calling Prince ignorant, and we found that tickling. And we proceeded. And from then on, when we hit 128th Street, at that time in the 60s, Harlem was full of young Muslims. You had Sunni Muslims, you had Orthodox Muslims, you had the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you had Qaddafi Muslims. You had all kind of Muslims in Harlem, and we all would greet each other in peace. But when we got to the group on 128th Street corner, and we was coming by, and brothers greet brothers, when they said Assalamu alaikum, the six of us, because Uhura wasn't with us, we said peace, and everybody thought something was wrong. Why y'all saying peace? And we repeated what Allah told us. And to this day we say peace, and that's why we say peace. We don't say peace because positive education always correct errors, because there was no positive education, not for us, not for us. The disparities that our young people talk about today were the same disparities of that day and time, and we had enough sense enough to know it. So many of us was school dropouts. All you had to do was get your parents to sign you out of school. And they'd tell you, well, you're going to get a job, and you said, yeah. But we wasn't finding no job, so we was walking the streets. Shamgar say, Allah said teach, and he's right. Wherever we was going and whatever we was doing, we was to teach. We didn't have a whole bunch of lessons. We didn't have the book of life. We had lessons as we needed them, and he gave it to us as we needed them. Our ages range from 13 to 21. And that's when Kahim came on board, when he was the baby. he was 12, and Salam, who was the oldest of us, was 21. He was 20 when it started and turned 21. Those are the lessons that we had because everybody had their own degree, and we shared it with each other. Jabba was 18. The mean age, as I wrote in The Son of Man years ago, the mean age amongst us was 17. What's the meaning of civilized? That was the mean age amongst us when Allah started teaching us. And he taught us, and as Shamgar said, he was patient with us. The real teachings we held on to, the lessons we held on to, and we went forth to teach. We would leave his house and come up with a plan, who was going to teach where, who was going to go north, who was going to go east, who was going west, who was going south, all in Manhattan. How many would go? I had nowhere to go because they had all taken the known territories. So I went back to Brooklyn, Medina. And when I got there, I searched for my brother, Jaki. And I knew that if I could convince Jaki of what I was doing, we could swing the whole group. We had a street name out there in Brooklyn at that time. We were Chapmans. And I told my brothers, like I told Allah, they're warriors. They won't never stop being warriors. It's in our blood. He said, warriors. I said, yeah, warriors. He thought about it for a while. He said, okay. When you told Allah something, you had to show and prove. He had to see it for himself. I spent 6 days and 6 nights with, well then at the time, Gypsy and them. 6 days and 6 nights. Not everybody came on board. They questioned and they challenged. If you know anything about street society and gang society, it's a lot of fighting. If you can't fight, don't join no gang. And definitely don't become no officer, because anybody can get a few drinks and say, I want to be president. And a fair one goes down. So when I went out there and taught them, I met a lot of resistance, but I had planted the seed, as Allah would say. And while I was incarcerated, they came to Medina looking for Allah. And when he seen them, he knew who they were. And thus Medina was born in 1965. In 65, Medina was born. Now, the teachings to speed up came through the years, us studying, us teaching. Allah was incarcerated in Matterhorn for the criminally insane because he said he was Allah in the courts. They trumped up a charge and brought him before a judge, and they took him off the streets. And they put him there. And we didn't know where he was at really until 1967. Forsyth Akbar said he was in Creemore. He wasn't. He was in Matterhorn. We had a big debate about that. They said they was going to Creemore to find Allah. We said we're going to Matterhorn, wherever that is, because I really didn't know where it was, and we're going to find him there. So we split up into 2 groups, so we thought. And we went to Matterhorn, Beacon, New York. And in Matterhorn, we found Allah. We came back home and told everybody where he was at, so now all can go and see him. He told us we no longer could be right. We had to be right and exact. He told us just like he was teaching us, there was a doctor named Johnson. He said, Dr. Johnson is examining me, and he's teaching his students, and I'm teaching y'all. He's knowing everything about the 5% and who we are. So when you get out there, they know who you are. because I'm showing them. He said, I'm coming home. He had indefinite time. He said, I'll be home in 2 years. 2 years' time, I'll be home. And in 1967, he came home. And it was in Mattawan when Allah told us we had to teach the culture seed. There was a lot of resistance in teaching the culture seed. That's the Caucasian. There was a lot of resistance to that. However, you had to understand the lesson. Allah had to tell brothers he didn't write no lessons, none at all. He had the knowledge, wisdom, and the understanding of the lessons. Well, if we was made deaf, dumb, and blind 6,000 years ago, and according to the lessons, it wasn't over until 1914, and none of us was born in 1914. So we had a long way to go. 6,000 years of being made deaf, dumb, and blind. One man being made deaf, dumb, and blind, and the other man being made weak and wicked. Allah said, I chose y'all because y'all are the least, not the most. We were the least. And he would say that often. Anybody who knew Allah would tell you, Allah never said something once. He always said it at least 3 days in a row, the same thing. And that means if he was like disciplining you, telling you, you know, what you did was wrong and straighten it up or whatever in his way. So you heard it for 3 days. But not only you heard it, all of us heard it. He didn't single no one man out. He hit everybody. So that made the rest of us all look at you. Anyway, this is how Allah was teaching us. Like Sham said, the love, the brotherhood was there. Word was bond. I don't care what went down. Once you told a brother, like many of us who was there, or we got that time on you, we're not quick to say God, because in order to be God, you have to have good order direction, and you have to show and prove. You can say who you are and what you are all day long. Once you tell, like him, once you tell us your name, and you tell us what it means, we begin to observe you. Are you living up to who you say you are? And if not, your brother will kind of correct you. If you still persist, then we know you're not who you say you are. It's that simple. It is that simple. That's how we learned. My name is Allah's born God. The reason why you got a BG up there is because my brother Dahu, when Allah sanctioned my name, he said, repeat it, God. A-L-L, and spelt it, A-L-L-A-H apostrophe S, born, B-O-R-N, God. Number 7 got added later on when I found out I was the 7th born. And we used the family name of Allah's, and that's spelled with an S, because there's as many of us as there are stars in the heavens. And people are discovering new places in the heavens with billions of stars. So there are billions of us. That's the way we learned. And we continue to learn. The more you teach, the more you learn. He told us to go to school. He told us to go to work. He told us to become citizens. He told us to participate in society. That's the things he taught. He taught us to be conscious of our diet. Later on in the years, when people start to put all kind of stuff in food and give it all kind of names, I remember even on TV, they were saying, if you can't spell what's on the outside of the package when it comes to food, don't eat it. Because the sisters did a wonderful job by investigating and keeping us straight, telling us what was edible and what was not. The sisters had a periodical also that kept us on our toes. We really appreciated them sisters when they did that. That's the way we learned, and that's the way we grew as a people. We have something, Jackie and I did an empirical study. That's a study where you participate in the study yourself. The only thing that was hampering our growth and even our attempts at reaching heights was alcoholism and drug addiction. So the Son of Man for 25 years addressed alcoholism and drug addiction. We got a lot of blowback, but it didn't mean nothing because we knew we was doing the right thing. Allah said the only way to beat drugs and alcohol is to leave it alone. He kept it just that simple. And the brothers who suffered from alcoholism and drug addiction, he told them, my man, you bringing this on yourself. He understood, but he wasn't a heavy-handed man when we stepped out of line. He told us we can do no wrong. And boy, we got carried away with that. We didn't understand you can do no wrong because if you do, you have to pay the consequences. It's that simple, accepting this world on this world's terms. To this day, we still learn. To this day, we look at our younger brothers who have achieved in colleges and in employment and with trades. But so many of us are getting the same deal that we got. To teach and teach, and there's no retirement, none whatsoever. Today, Allah would be 94 years old. We used to talk about Allah amongst ourselves, and other people would be listening, so we started calling him the Father. We knew the Father was the 13th man. The 13th man because it was 13 of us. Today, he would be 94, and once again, the 13th man. No spook at all. The original Asiatic black man with no birth record, none whatsoever. Old as the sun, moon, and stars. The living God. The living God. This is why earlier today I was telling my brother, I respect all people of all religions, yet I have no religion. I have a design for living. I don't have a religion, but I can talk with anybody who really have a faith. It's real simple, very simple. To teach the culture seed, like I said, was the hardest thing for us to do. We had to reconcile within ourselves that if we was lost for 6,000 years, and this man was made weak and wicked, then he doesn't know the same way we don't know. They keep us divided because they break us down into what they call race, black, brown. This day and time, they say we are people of color. Those of us who's old enough, remember they used to call us colored people. And now today they call us black sometime. But on TV now you're hearing people of color. Asians are getting attacked. For what? There's only one race on the face of this earth, and that's human beings. Allah, when he appeared, was the supreme being. And giving us the knowledge of ourselves, we learned that we are that being. We're not him because he didn't father us physically. He took on the responsibility, though.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Everybody right now, can you give a BG number 7, God Sham, God, an applause for giving the history that we didn't know? Having said that, I would like to open up in regards to any questions anybody would like to ask. You, okay. Do you want the microphone or you?
No. Mics are back here, sir.
You got the exercise.
There's 2 mics back here.
Okay.
Peace. For those who don't know me, my name is Wise Asia. I'm taught by firstborn Prince of Law, peace be upon him. My question is to ABG. Is it true that when you went to Medina to teach with Jaki, did Omala steal firstborn Prince Book of Life and give it to Jaki?
Did she what? Repeat that?
Did Omala, firstborn Prince, woman at that time, steal his Book of Life to give to Jaki to bring to Medina?
I don't know about that, sister. That I don't know about. But I do know that firstborn Prince is the father of Omala's daughter. No, she told Prince that he was the father of Omala's daughter. And come to find out, Jaki was the father of the daughter.
That's the history I got.
That's what happened. But as far as stealing his book, I don't know about that, because generally, at that day and time, all of us walked around with our book in our fatigue pocket.
He was in the institution at that time, and she took his composition book.
Oh, I don't know about that, because I know Jaki got his lessons from Akbar,
Okay,
the sixth born.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, sister.
We have any other questions? Like the youth. Any other questions here?
No questions? You shouldn't take any, can I say something? You shouldn't take anybody on face value. That's another thing Allah taught us.
Peace. My name is Zandera. I'm here with Sonia and her father, who's up there speaking right now. And the question that I had is, when I did my research, I seen that in the beginning, the lessons, it wasn't culture and freedom and power and refinement. It was just culture and then power. So I wanted to know, when did that switch to where it's culture or freedom, power or refinement? Or is that even true?
No, the brothers, listen, the brothers got hold of the lessons down through the years and began to having this argument over every year they do. What is, power, what is refinement? The lessons is as it is written. When you got refinement, that means that through the culture, you have refined it. When we first got the lessons, we was raw. And you can't communicate with people if you're raw in what you're saying because they're not ready for it. Mm-hmm. So when you refined it, you learn to address people and you can say the same things, but your mannerisms change. Power, we never had no power. Allah never gave us the power. He told us if he gave us the power, it would mess everything up for us and for other people. And he explained it simply to Universal Shamgar. He said, if I give you the power, son, you'll go out there and do something to somebody because he disrespected you or he slighted you.
Okay,
And
thank
so,
you.
Yeah, and so now, after a couple of days, we all argue with each other, right? We're human. I do something terrible to you because me and you have an argument. The next day, we'll be friends and everything is okay. But I've been committed some kind of crime against you. So we were never given the power.
Gotcha.
Allah dealt with us in the equality. He said you have to find your own power.
Gotcha.
That's what he told us.
Thank you. Peace.
Peace.
Peace, peace.
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 I would like to ask as you mentioned, a lot these lessons, this was more a youth movement. And as we see now with that, the youth of our time, for the most part, are not, their issues are not being addressed. I would like to find out, what would both of you actually think of, what would be the biggest hurdle right now in engaging the youth with the lessons that was taught by Allah? Like what right now to reinvigorate the message, to galvanize them again?
That's a good question, brother. And a lot of times, you know, we build or we speak about that. I believe that you catch a man and a woman where they are at, and you teach them that particular way. Listen, everybody ain't gonna understand the lessons, and everybody ain't gonna want the lessons. But I'm quite sure that each and every individual in this room was taught manners by their parents. And we just have to give them the basics. And if they want this, then they themselves have to choose this. I chose this way of life for myself. But like ABG say, let me give you an example this way. I remember one time Allah asked me who was the 5%. Then he moved up a couple of lessons and asked me what was the duty of a civilized person. I couldn't answer him because I wasn't that far in my lessons. And the very first thing he said is, who are you? But yet and still, I couldn't tell him word for word in the lessons who I was. So it was about 4 of us brothers together. And he said, listen, whoever is teaching you or showing you the way, I want you to stop right here and now where you at in your lessons, and I want you to get from, it was from the 13th degree in the 1 to 40 all the way up to the 20th degree in the 1 to 40. And he told us, don't come back to Mecca until we knew it. And trust me, when we went back up there and he started asking us questions, we knew. Because how you gonna say that you something and you don't even know who you is? You can't identify with it. It's just words. So I'm looking at 2022 and in 1964 when he taught, I know that we in a different day and time. And sometimes you just got to give them the basics. And if you lead by example, then they will bear witness and they might choose this as their way of life. I just don't ram no lessons down somebody's throat because they might not want it. And I don't feel that every human being should be a 5%. Because if they don't love it, then they're not gonna have no success living this way of life. So I say to anybody that's teaching, look at and study the man or woman that you're dealing with, man, and deal with them right there. Because there's so much in just the basic principle and jewels in life that our own parents gave us about how we behave as human beings and what they want from us. So that's what I would do. It's not meant for everybody to have the lesson, whether it was back then or whether it's now.
Peace. I would like to also say something pertaining to your question.
Yes.
I noticed that when we start dealing with the youth, and I used to speak a lot of times to my brother here, ABG, and I said, you know, I really figured out that Allah was very successful because he spent time with them. And that's a big difference. I mean, this week, even my young girl, she's here right now. And me and her went to the school. When we got to the school, Brother Shaw was giving a class. La Shaw was giving a class. And when he was giving the class, he was going around the room asking individuals where they was from. And he asked her, where you live at? And she, in turn, said, the whole planet Earth is my home. When me and her started speaking, prior to me even coming up to Mecca, she was asking me about the history of Allah, the firstborn. She was asking me everything that, came to her mind. At the same duration of time, when we got to the school, she saw the school. And the first thing she said was, the school should be more developed than what it is. And we should get our own. Me and her having this conversation. And I told her, I said, when I got the knowledge of self, I was in the street. I was in the gang and so forth. And I said the battleground, like we was always speak about, is no longer in the street, but it's in the institution of higher learning. She got a double master's in marketing and management. I told her, I said, what you do now, I said, our children. We went to school, we went to work. When you go to school, you go to work, you become judgmental. You look at a boss, look at somebody in your job, and you can say, I can have that same position. You're gonna have to show and prove. Sure. But the main thing, what I'm saying, is all of us who have children, I got grandchildren. The main thing is to get them together and let them talk. They're not gonna speak for a long time. They'll sit back and say, I got it, you told me that already, all right, don't worry, I got it, I'm running with it. So my main thing, like I said here, is everybody here, it's one thing if you go to school and you got a degree, you got a prefix and title before your name, okay, fine. However, it's a competitive market out there. We're supposed to make sure that we're supposed to teach freedom, justice, and equality, like the 16th degree saying in 140, to all the human families of the planet Earth. So when you see them sit down amongst themselves, they'll sit down and say, well, you could do something much different in regards to, I got a friend that went to school with me that's an architect. I got another friend that went to my school that's an engineer. And they come here. So, as far as getting them engaged, the reality to it is let the youth spend time with the youth. When I first got knowledge of stuff, I wasn't hanging around with nobody 40, 50 years old. If I was 15, 16, I'm hanging out with 15, 16 years old. But I started hanging out with individuals, physical degree. And let me say this too. A lot of times individuals might be with somebody, say if you're 15, you're hanging out with somebody this is why I love the lesson. This is why I love Allah's mathematics. If I was 15 hanging with somebody that was 25, once I knew they didn't have knowledge of stuff or knew their lessons, I never let them come to me and say they was older than me, because I know our lessons let us know that we older than the sun, moon, and stars. So I knew they wasn't studying. So they didn't want to ask me no question. And then another thing, my brother hit on it earlier about far as, like Allah said, a real, and this what got to me, a real 5%er don't get high. So I wasn't judgmental looking at other individuals. I started looking at myself. I said, damn, so in other words, I fell victim. When I was coming up, that's what I was doing, me and my running partners. We ain't think because drinking beer or we hanging out and somebody smoking weed, we ain't think we was no addict. But when you do that on a consistent basis, it put wear and tear on your body. So now, the reason why we here now, same way the coronavirus came out, I told my young earth, I told my sons, all of them, I said, look, we need doctors. Every hospital got clinical trials. You can go there and let them know exactly what they're speaking about, because they go on to scientists. All science means is study. So we got if right now, I said, if they talk about global warming, they're taking to the 8th degree. Taking what make rain, hail, snow, and earthquake. They want to talk about, they got something now called critical race theory. You can start taking them to the 30th degree. Tell us how the devil is made. If a person want to sit down and start telling anything that they want to speak about, we have our lessons. That's the roadmap as far as the media, our lessons that can guide us in that perspective area that we could teach freedom, justice, and equality to everybody. So, to simplify it, what I'm basically saying is you got to spend time with the youth. And when my brother first told me about Allah was saying that we have to be right and exact, that's what hit me in the head. Sometimes I used to say if I drop something on the ground, I look, and I said, oh, shit, I got to pick that up. I got to be right and exact and put it in the garbage can. Being right and exact is a measuring stick for you to make sure that you lead by example, like my brother, God Shamgar, was just speaking about. But the main thing is let the youth, if you got your sons, your daughters, and you got knowledge of self, and you had for decades, and we just now coming to the Schomburg now, see what made me want to come here is this coronavirus. You understand what I'm saying? I looked at it to the point where I kept saying, this is something that should have been done decades ago, but see, nobody be hard on themselves. Nobody. Because the reality to it is, and Jaki had said it best, and ABG said it best also about the 99 years that we have in regards when it came to that property, that school. That represents 3 generations. Somebody know you for real if they saying you got another 42 years, say you in your 60s now. The reality to it, whatever your physical degree is, we all got a chronological age, but at the same duration of time, if you're working in the best interest of the community, all you have to do is do what Allah said do, just teach. So, to simplify it, I just wanted to, answer my perspective on the question you were speaking about. Spend time with the youth, let them spend time with each other. Any other question?
Thank you.
Peace.
When did you start using the term original man?
1964. We start using that term in 1964, the original man, the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, the father of civilization, and the God of the universe. And that's part of the student enrollment. Peace. You're welcome.
Peace, family, peace. I want to ask a question in regards to, my name is Earthly Jules, and I've been in the nation for 29 years, and I am basically energized to work with the babies. And I wanted to know, as of the school is involved right now, can it be done to push certain programs where if the people there are not doing it, can it be facilitated by the ones who are able and capable of doing it? Because right now, as the guard just mentioned, the school, I think 99 years is a long time for the accomplishments to be basically rooted to nothing. And so I'm asking the question because, of course, I have a youth program and it's a 22-point team, but I am really concerned because I live in Harlem and I do the footwork. I have been with the politicians all over the city working, and I'm working for the benefit of the 5% Nation of Guards and Earth because that's who I am. And I want to go back for a minute, ABG. I want to tell you something. My brother was in Otisville in the same year you was there. He met the father at the same time. His name was Clarence. And I was 6 years old when he came home and said he was a 5%er. And I remember living in Bushwick Projects. He brought the knowledge to Bushwick Projects. That's how far back this goes. But I got knowledge of when I was 30 because I didn't understand it. But with that being said, I have been around this nation for a very long time. And now that I'm here, once again, I chose it for myself. And I really truly appreciate the Father's gift because this is a gift for me and my family. And I want to ask, why isn't there a disciplinary board where we have board members from the nation who could make decisions on things that are going on without being picking and choosing the right and wrong, because issues have occurred and we want to get to the bottom of it. But if there's no board to there's no rules made up, they make them as they go. I want to know why it's not being implemented, because that's a big part of being a nation of people working together, that we have a board that makes decisions on it, not the law school Mecca board, not the financial committee, or board members that only make a decision on the bigger part of this nation. And I think that that's something that should be implemented ASAP, because we're losing a lot of life because we don't have people making the right decisions on the benefit of this nation. Okay, peace, God. Peace, family.
Peace.
Let me say one thing regarding that building on 7th Avenue, 2122. Allah went to Mayor Lindsay and told Mayor Lindsay he needs some help with these 5%ers because he had young, wild, out of control kids. That school on that property belongs to young people, period. Because the man that asked for it so that he'll have some place that young people can go. Until it is returned to the children, it's going to be what it's going to be. You know, tonight we honoring our father. One thing that we wanted to establish in having this conversation, because I'll never forget when BG told me this story about him and Rasul standing out in front of the school, and a young brother was telling them what Allah said. And Rasul kindly told the brother, I don't remember you. When was you born? The brother told him he was born in 1990. Now, did he get something from somebody, or was he around? We want to set the record straight of Allah's greatness, truly who he was as a black man, and the task that he took on in trying to give the young free thought and living their life right. I never forget one night he told me, he said, I came unto my own, and my own received me not. And who he was talking about was his peers, the older people in Harlem, the politicians that was in Harlem. So he did not join any of them. He dealt with the youth on his own. And he knew who to turn to when he needed something. And there wasn't anything during the Lindsay administration until Allah got killed that he would not do for Allah, because they had a relationship. The father helped form going down to Central Park with the folks from Harlem so that they understood you do not tear up your own neighborhood. I was at the rally that day that happened, that we walked down Central Park. 2 nights before that, me and my partner, Divine, was out in Medina. And we wasn't stealing nothing, but we were just rattling. We was angry. We was rattling on some storefront windows. Guy filled our behinds up with a BB gun. And then we came up to Mecca and everything after we took care of our situation, and we walked. We might not have truly understood it, but he made sure that Harlem was peaceful. So mathematics is right and exact, because that's what we live according to. And as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. I tell anybody, that school, 2122, belong to young people. And until you put young people back in there, you ain't gonna get no rest and you ain't gonna get no peace.
Any more questions? Any more questions?
Peace.
Peace.
I don't have a question. I have more of a comment directed to the brother that asked about how can we invigorate the youth to want to get the knowledge, right? The brother right there with the black on. So what a lot of people don't know, and he's being real humble right now, the brother on stage, Father Supreme, is a boxing coach and a youth mentor, right? And I'm one of his pupils, right? So the thing is, if you want to teach and how to invigorate the people, you get out there and get your hands dirty and teach, right? So I'm from Jamaica, Queens. He had a program at Elmcore Youth Center on 108th and Northern Boulevard. Met him better part of 20 years ago, because I was mentoring a young man, and he was also mentoring him with boxing. I was giving him the knowledge of himself at that time, or should I say I was enlightening the brother. And currently, and then let me rewind it a little bit. Another brother that was one of my contemporaries in knowledge was a pro boxer. I introduced him to him, and he was under his tutelage, and I also learned. So I'm currently, as a profession, a personal trainer and a boxing coach. I learned to be a teacher from a teacher, right? So we can't just produce great students. We have to be teachers as teachers. So I brought my student here today, 7 years old, and his father. And currently, I learned to do what I'm doing from him. Every Sunday at the law school in Mecca, we have a gang of young people from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I teach boxing to the youth for free from the ages of 7 to 18. Right? Some of these people are from all different walks of life. Some people are from Africa, some people from the 5 boroughs, different places. But what's most important is that they getting that supreme equality from the gods. from the nation, right? So that's a way I learned a lot of lessons in life through boxing. Boxing and life has a lot of similarities in it. So I try to use boxing as they say, the sweet milk, or a proxy to get them interested in the knowledge. The reality of it is, a lot of them is not going to get the knowledge, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to manifest our equality to them and teach them basic civilization, and they can benefit from it. So some of the people that I'm teaching, they're going to grow up to be teachers as well. So to answer your question, furthermore, good brother, you got to be innovative. You got to get out there and get your hands dirty and really just do it and not talk about it. So I didn't want to have a question. I just wanted to add that on so that we all seen and heard everywhere. Peace.
Peace. Peace. Peace.
Peace.
All right, my question is to the panel on the board right now. I'm seeing a lot of things coming up in the history of Elijah, Malcolm, and things of that nature that they put in parts of. I even actually saw the Harlem Six on one of the shows. And my thing is, why isn't there any history of the Father being presented to the people, aside from these little forums like we have it now, except for them just to get it from the school?
Yeah, well, I was always taught when Allah said he was Allah, the Muslim community turned against him. When he said he wasn't pro-black or anti-white, the politicians turned against him. This is the political atmosphere we're dealing in. Politics is, even if you got to go to the store and determine what kind of toilet paper you're going to use, that's politics. This is why we're saying now, and I said this, not too long ago when I was speaking about my young earth, my son. When I teach it, I basically let them know that at this point in time right now, anytime you see inequality, that's when you got to go ahead and go out there and show and prove. Because I be saying we 5%, we ain't gonna never change. That number ain't gonna never change. 85% gonna still be 85. They still gonna be poison animal eaters. They still gonna be slave of mental death and power. They're gonna be the same person that's gonna be easily led in the wrong direction, hardly led in the right direction, not knowing their origin in this world. You know what I'm saying? So my whole thing is, what I'm saying is the fact that what I told individuals, we taught to add. 8 and 5 is 13. When we go amongst individuals that's not really servicing our areas in regards as far as dealing with our people, then the reality to it is we're supposed to teach. And our people are all the human families of the planet Earth. Once we start talking the way we speaking, they looking at it like, wait a minute, wait a minute. They ain't talking about no racism. Before we even had this forum, let me say this, right? Before we had this forum, it was all kind of little technical difficulties I was having, as far as bringing individuals together. But I say that to say this, is that as long as you know you right and exact, don't let nothing and nobody, deter you from what you actually doing. This is what we here for. Because even when it comes to any youth that I speak to, I told them, I said, listen, you're supposed to be schooled at home. You go out in the world and be polished, but the whole planet Earth, like my young earth would say, the whole planet Earth is our home. So that's my main thing, like I said before. Anytime I speak to anybody I got co-workers that's here. I'm on my job, or if I'm on my block, I don't care wherever I'm at, I never looked at to the point where the person gonna automatically believe me. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm not into the belief aspect. We about knowing. So my main thing is, like I said before, but when a person tell me no, it's always a yes, because they gotta give me an explanation. When somebody tell me something, they say, no, and you say why, and they say why, I laugh reason. So my main thing, that's our opportunity for us to teach. So anytime I go somewhere, anytime, when they had the Black Lives Matter, I was out there teaching in Medina, out there by Brighton Beach. And the culture sees, Caucasian, now check this out. Individuals was telling me about Black Lives Matter, and I was like, yeah, you know what? The media would really, really embrace what we was talking about, or what we speaking about, if you got on there when the news channel said what's going on, and you said that you the original Asiatic black man and proved it. I said, everybody would have stopped. You understand what I'm saying? So in regards to us teaching, we got to go out there and teach. That's to simplify. We got to go out there and teach. So, that's why I said, and this right now, let me say this is a platform at the Schomburg. Once we in here, we ain't leaving out of here. Let me say this too, listen. The Schomburg is to promote anything that's community-based, something that's historic. Everybody here is historical. Everybody here, be proud of yourself that we here. Because the reality too is, like Allah said in here, is that he was getting frustrated and angry at so-called professionals who was narrow-minded not to accept a new philosophy. So that's what we coming with. So my main thing, like I said before, is the fact that, you know, I'm glad my brothers are here so we can have an opportunity and everybody can hear what Allah taught. You know, get history that, you know, every time I'm around my brothers, I want to know history that I don't know. But at the same duration of time, like I said before, is the fact that once you start showing and proving, once you start dispelling different type of theories, whether letting individuals know, listen, I don't care if you're in college and they talk about Big Bang Theory. I don't care if they say Charles Darwin, we came from a gorilla. Whatever they say, you let them know, you know for a fact they're not right and exact. But the reality to it is we have to teach. But right now, the battleground is the institution of higher learning, and we here. We at the Schomburg. This is the #1 library in the nation as far as black culture is concerned. So everybody now we my brother brought it to my attention about we want to make this flag so heavy for individuals to wear it. So, you know, that individual wearing the flag, they ain't out there, lack of better words, bullshit. No, that's me. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm still swimming my 9,000 miles back to humanity, so don't expect me to be up here acting like I'm no Robert Rules of Order and I'm right and exact. No, listen, there's plenty of times I sit back and when I get a certain thought in my mind, I got to sit to bed and shake my head and say, ain't but one Allah. All praises due to Allah. All right, so, you know, that's my answer, you know, to the question, brother.
My second question.
Let me add on, brother, before you ask the second question. Listen, one thing he said is he didn't mind people writing about him as long as they told the truth. That's number one. Secondly, look at the period of time that we had Allah from 1964 to 1969 when he got assassinated. The only ones that can tell his story and the only ones that can tell about Allah are the ones that walk and talk and live it, as long as they tell the truth. Don't make up nothing on them, because he didn't like that. He said, I don't care what they write, as long as it's the truth.
The second question. Second question is that earlier, Father Supreme mentioned that law had association with Martin Luther King. Can I hear more about that at that time? How did Martin Luther King, something about the riot or something? I think there's something that was happening in Harlem that, from what I hear, the nation was involved in protecting Martin Luther King during that time.
Well, let me say this. If I made that statement, that wasn't right and exact. He didn't have association with Martin Luther King. I'm saying the climate of when Martin Luther King was assassinated and other cities were rioting when it came to New York City, who kept everything in a perspective of at peace, was brothers like ABG and God Shamgar. That's what it was in a New Yorker on the city on the eve of destruction that had Allah on one side and Mayor Lindsay on the other side. So ABG or Shamgar.
Yeah, that's what it was, brother. No, he didn't. As far as I know, there was no association. We was just talking about the climate, like the gods just spoke about, and what the people wanted to do in their own communities. And other boroughs outside of Harlem was looting, rioting, a whole lot of chaos going on. Because of his relationship with Mayor Lindsay, there was an interview up at Columbia University by was it Sid Dorfman. I know it's on YouTube right now. Explain to the audience that when Mayor Lindsay was the mayor and doing Martin Luther King riots and everything, all the preachers and everybody wanted to get in photo ops with the mayor. And the only one that the mayor wanted to see, and this come out with his administrative staff stuff, the only one that Lindsay wanted to see was Allah and his 5%. And he said that because Lindsay felt safe around the 5%, because the 5% did not play when it came time for security or getting out there, showing you that they was men and they didn't take no bull. He didn't take no photo out with nobody else. I wish offhand that I knew it, else I would tell you to go to YouTube. It was an interview that was done by a person from the Lindsay administration. He explained about 1968 riots and that they kept telling Lindsay, don't go uptown, don't go uptown, don't go uptown. And Lindsay said, I'm going uptown. And the only one that he wanted to see was Allah and the 5%.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
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 Peace
Oh,
to the
pardon me. We got a call in on the internet with a question. Can we get this first? And then...
Pete, this question is for Shamgar. To talk about the night Allah told them they were gods and your women and children is your 5%. Secondly, did everyone agree? Peace. That came from Tamari Cox.
That's true. To go in length, I can't, but I know one thing. When we talked about the 16th degree in 1 to 40, he said that when we get 16 as a rites of passage and everything, that 1 and 6 equals 7 and 7 is God. And that's when a man marry onto himself. And that our women and our children were the 5%. Because they bear witness to us and we take care of them, but we come into our own as men, as a rite of passage, as we get older. And that's basically what it was, sis. And tell Tamari I said peace.
Peace to the gods, peace to the earths.
Peace.
I come in the name of King Universal, born Allah. I'm Allah's son, the Father's brother. I had an opportunity today to build with my aunt, Bernice, the father's sister. I was trying to get her to come down here today. She's 92 years old, and based off the weather, she declined, and she sent me to say peace to the gods, peace to the earths. She's still here, and she wants to say thank you for putting this together. Okay, so I just want to say to the two gods there, I want to thank you for watching me grow up in the nation. Because a couple of times, y'all, I would be in the school when Justice was around, and I would just be a boy, be a kid. And I remember you, God, popped me upside my head. No, he did it out of love. It was okay. And he says, go tell Allah what I said, what I did. But you know I would never do that because I was wrong. So I just wanted, I'm remembering these things, God. I am power. I'm 58 years old. Okay? I came into this nation, let me put it like this. I was around when my uncle was alive. Okay? And he used to always tell me, keep your room clean, do what your parents say. I'm just a little overwhelmed, God, because I mean, this is beautiful. This is very beautiful, and I just want to say that my 50-plus years in this nation, I just want to say peace and thank you. Because if it wasn't for a lot of you guys in here, and some of y'all know, some of you guys grew up in here, grew up with me in this nation. I just want to say thank you, peace. I'm grateful. Because I wouldn't be around if it wasn't for a lot of the guards in this room, and these earths in the room. Just want to say peace.
Peace. Peace. Any more questions? That's it. Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who attended this event, and I'm going to keep saying it's monumental and historical. While this music is playing, I would appreciate it if I could have the audience come up front, because we want to take a picture, a group picture. And we want to make sure this is something that's going to be remembered on a consistent basis. Having said that, I want to say peace, and everybody enjoy their evening.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
Okay. Okay. You said behind it. Okay. All right. Can everyone come up front? We're going to take a picture. Everyone come up front.
I'm short. I'm looking where I can fit in with where the short people at. I'm short. I'm a shorty. Not a baby in the middle. Put the baby in the middle. And that BG on the other end. Yes, there he go.
Hey, quick question. Oh,
That question.
What time we working with? That's it, right?
yeah. Do you want any more house music, or do you want to just be silent after?
That's it. I'm ready to go home, man.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
That was still on.